How's it going, welders on YouTube? So, as the title says in the video description, we're going to be exposing Boeing weld tests. Now, this video is probably going to be the most unique video that you see on welding in all of YouTube. You know, there's videos that get millions of views just showing somebody walking the cup. You don't really learn anything about welding or industries themselves. So in this video, you're going to learn about traceability, D17.1, the difference between the shop floor reality and actual standards, and things like NADCAP and all that other good stuff. But before we can get into exposing somebody, I don't want this to be a he said, she said, or my word against somebody else's. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you or give you the source material so you can actually see for yourself how the codes or the welding tests at Boeing were not exactly compliant. So before we even get started, we got to start with some prereqs. So in the description box below, you will see links to this, the Internet Archive. And don't worry, it'll be in the link below. And the most important things we're going to need for this lesson are AWS D17.1, ISO 9001, and AS 9100. So here's AWS D17.1, for example. You click on it and you could just follow along with me. This is the entire document, all 126 pages. It's 2024, so it's pretty new. And this book by itself is over $100. So you just got a free aerospace welding standards book for free. I think I earned your subscription and a like at this point. Nobody else is giving you free stuff, just me. So that's AWS D1.1, AS 9100. Unfortunately, I only have that in Spanish, but you can translate the individual sentences that you need to know, or if you know Spanish, you're good to go. Then ISO 9001, I have an American version, and if you look over here, I also have a British version. So moving on to the next point. Okay, so we got the first prerequisites out of the way. I got the material in your hands. Now, most welders know what AWS D17.1 is. That's the standard for aerospace welding. And it's pretty straightforward. Just follow the rules. But most people have no idea what ISO 9001 is or AS 9100. Now, I'm not going to explain it to you. This video that you see in the background, that is from ISO's own website, so they can tell you what the standard is. Remember, I'm trying to be as transparent as possible so I can avoid the he said, she said. You're going to get the rules directly from the source. So without further ado, she's going to explain what ISO 9001 is.
What is ISO 9001? ISO 9001 is a globally recognized standard for quality management systems, that's QMS, developed by the International Organization for Standardization, ISO. It provides a framework for organizations to ensure that their products and services consistently meet customer and regulatory requirements, and that they're continuously improving their processes and overall performance. ISO 9001 outlines requirements for a QMS, including processes for quality planning, control, and assurance, as well as methods for monitoring and measuring performance. It also provides guidelines for documentation, internal auditing, and corrective action. Organizations that are certified to ISO 9001 demonstrate to their customers and stakeholders that they're committed to delivering quality products and services and are continually improving their processes. Certification can be a valuable asset for organizations seeking to enhance their reputation and increase customer satisfaction. And this is typically carried out by a third-party auditor, which means that the ISO Central Secretariat in Geneva, Switzerland actually has nothing to do with certification.
All right, so she just finished explaining what ISO 9001 is, and that can be applied to any company. You could be a restaurant and use ISO 9001. Now, we're going to get into AS 9100, and she'll explain.
What's the difference between ISO 9001 and AS 9100? AS 9100 is a standard for quality management systems in the aerospace industry. It's based on ISO 9001, but includes additional requirements specific to the aerospace industry.
Okay, so she explained ISO 9001 and AS 9100. Now, what we're going to get into non-compliance. Now remember, I'm not going to tell you what non-compliance is because I'm just some random nobody. The people who invented the standard, they're going to tell you what non-compliance is, and we're going to go from there.
What is a major nonconformity for ISO 9001? A major nonconformity is a significant deviation from the requirements of ISO 9001 that could impact the ability of an organization to meet customer or regulatory requirements.
Okay, so you heard it from the source. A major nonconformity for ISO 9001 is a significant deviation. So one thing that, for example, ISO 9001 and AS 9100 require, just a basic thing, is traceability, paperwork. If you don't have that, that's a major nonconformity. You fail an audit completely. So now let's move on to Boeing and a little bit more evidence before we jump in. Okay, and continuing with the transparency, we're almost to the non-compliance issues. Trust me, we're getting there. But first this. So this is how I ended up working with Boeing. It was through a contractor, PMG, which is also known as Flex Trades. Here's my contract. It says where I was working, which was Washington. So I had to fly out there, and it's got everything down to my hotel in Seattle, which was right by the airport. My wage, hours, everything. Take a look. And wait, there's more. A badge from Boeing, so you could also see. Yeah, I didn't make that. That's the rear of the badge, and if we look over here, that is the front. So evidence that I was there on site and evidence of my contract. Okay, so violation or noncompliance number one. Again, not my opinion. We're looking at AWS D17.1, and you can follow along since you have the book as well. So you'll turn to the page or section 5343, disqualification for eye exams. Now, this is pretty straightforward. I'm surprised people at PMG, Flex Trades, and Boeing, they're complete fucking idiots. We're all supposed to have eye exams, or the weld tests that we complete are invalid. And it says it right here. Disqualification and revocation of welder certification shall result under any one or more of the following conditions. A welder, tack welder, or welding operator has not performed the qualification test successfully within 2 years, and an auditable record has not been maintained. So Not only did I not take an eye exam, there's 40 of us at this site. Nobody took an eye exam. That's what we call a major noncompliance. So, moving on to the next one. Okay, noncompliance violation number 2, according to AWS, and that is the storage and use of filler materials. So let's go through this. 6221. Filler materials. Welding filler materials shall be stored in a clean and dry environment. Filler metal types shall not be commingled during storage or use. Heating may be employed as necessary to prevent moisture accumulation. Low hydrogen SMAW and FCAW electrodes shall be handled and stored according to manufacturer's recommendations or according to AWS blah 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 as appropriate. So how were the materials stored at Boeing? Well, I can give you my opinion, or I could show it to you. Now, I took a really quick video while I was there. Now, if you've ever worked in aerospace, typically a company that's doing things by the book, by law, how they're supposed to, your fill of material is locked up and it's documented. As you can see in this video,
of aluminum, no Inconel, limited on materials of aluminum, no Inconel, limited on materials.
no documents, the filler material, and the filler rod, which I don't have on video, but it looks just about the same, is just on the ground in pallets. This is test material. When I actually worked at a legitimate aerospace company, when you're getting test material, it's in a bag. It's documented, it's traced. You know, if you're just practicing, yeah, of course, they'll just give you, some scrap or some other material that you can work on like so. But no, we were using this to test on. And according to ISO 9001 and AS 9100, if there's no documents, that's a major non-compliance or non-conformity. And I mean, I don't know. I'm not an expert in audits, but I don't see any documents with these materials. I don't know. If you see them, you let me know. If you work at Boeing and you see some documents here, you let me know. But so far, Boeing's looking like they're full of shit. And this non-compliance also goes with the previous one with welding materials and welding rods. So there was no traceability for the actual material that we used for the tests, and there was no traceability for the welding rod itself. I don't have photos of that, but you saw the other one. You could take my word for it. Now, the rod specification is 621. Consumables used in welding shall be identified in accordance with an established standard or specification or by a standard specified in the procurement specification. If the identification marking is destroyed or missing, the consumable shall not be used. So if we use welding wire that isn't documented, our tests are invalid. So we went through eye exams, not compliant. Then we went to actual material itself, not compliant. Then we go down to the welding rod, not compliant. So far, Boeing is a shit show. Moving on. All right, next non-compliance issue. So this one is really interesting. So Boeing, many years ago, and don't quote me on this, definitely do your research, they faced a multi-million-dollar lawsuit because they didn't have paperwork attached to a few parts. So the testing facility that I was at, the whole facility was completely off the books. Let me repeat that. Boeing lost millions of dollars for paperwork not attached to parts. So in the instance that I was in, we didn't have paperwork for the building itself, not for our eye exams, not for the parts. This is like seriously the biggest non-compliance issue probably in that company's history, probably being swept under the rug. But am I making this up? No. D17.1. Essential information for all welds, the engineering drawing or reference supporting documents shall specify this specification and the following: weld location and extent of welding. So, where was I welding? It was this location here. This is where they took us for the Boeing test site. It's a closer look at the address. And let's see here. This is the inside of that facility as I was walking towards it. Okay, so this is where we're training today. And then you see all that at the end. That's where we're going to be testing. But yeah, aside from that, this entire damn building is empty. Just for... Okay. Let's bring that back. So as you can tell, this is an empty warehouse. Now, what this building was actually used for was, I think, storing like airplane seats or something. So it's not a building that was dedicated or designed for manufacturing whatsoever, which is also another huge non-compliance. Just another example, the temperature in this building, since people aren't working in it, I think it was just above freezing. You know, the heaters in there were only designed to keep the pipes from freezing. And, you know, these temporary curtains in the back. So, I mean, and then there goes the welding material there. Around here, that's where the filler material is. But as you can see, none of this is compliant. Okay, and we're still on the non-compliant location. So this is a closer look at billion-dollar Boeing's welding setup. So there goes the guy to my left, just so you could see that I was there.
Nah, bro, we got one right there. Other one's back there. Still people here.
Now, here's the interesting thing. I'm going to slowly scrub by. Now, if you look at my table, and I'm so sorry, but you'll see right there, I had to grind the paint off of my table. The whole table is painted. And I forgot to include that, but that's also a D17.1 violation. The table has to be free of debris, paint, oils, etc. So somebody at Boeing who was in charge of money, some fucking idiot, bought these. Yeah, go figure. Somebody makes probably over $100,000 a year is some fucking moron. Yeah, completely non-compliant. So, moving on. All right, next major non-compliance. No weld procedure specification documents anywhere on site. So we're supposed to have WPSs for everything that we work on in aerospace. I don't care if it's a test, a part. If you're striking an arc and it's for something official, there's a WPS. Otherwise, you fail an audit, you're dead to rights. That would literally shut a fucking small business down. So, 511 content and format of welding documents. WPS, procedure qualification record, and welder/tack welder certification shall contain all the required data to appropriately characterize the welding procedure, record, of procedure qualification and record of welder or welding operator qualifications. In all cases, it is the responsibility of the fabricator to ensure that all required data and welding information is included on all welding documents and records. Yeah, there wasn't a single document on site, not for the building, not for any of us in our eye exams, not for any tests, not for any materials. So if we passed Boeing's weld tests with flying colors, all of the non-compliance would negate even a perfect weld test. So moving on to the next non-compliance. A few more things, they keep adding up for the non-compliance for the building. So D17.1, AS 9001, AS 9100 and ISO 9001, they all require you to follow OSHA rules. Now, when it comes to aerospace welding, yeah, this right here, temporary electrical setups for weld tests, not exactly legal by any sense. And I have a video right here of that same electrical setup, right? And moving along, this is $1 billion company. Look at that shitty ass electrical work, and it's going out of a propped open door to a generator outside. Boeing dropped, I don't know how much money on this horse shit and completely dropped the ball. Yeah, like trip hazard all over the place. Like, you tell me, is this legit? If you had an aerospace company, do you think somebody would be coming down on your ass trying to charge you and shut your business down? I think so. So, Boeing, yeah. Okay, so we're going to get into a brief explanation of NADCAP, but first we have to understand what Boeing is exactly. So Boeing, as you could see back here, is an OEM aerospace company. Now, most of the aerospace companies I've worked for, I've worked at Senior Aerospace SSP in Burbank. I've worked at MP Aero in Valencia, Ace Clearwater Aerospace in Torrance, Honeywell Aerospace. Those are all suppliers. They make the parts for OEM manufacturers like Boeing, and then Boeing assembles everything on site. So the standards that Boeing has to follow, technically that they have to follow, are D17.1, ISO 9001, and AS 9100. All of their suppliers have to follow NADCAP. Okay, so this is an example of a NADCAP audit. Now, you can usually find these on any aerospace company's website. They have to publicly put it there to show you that they were successfully audited. So this is some random company. I don't know what this is, but this is a checklist, as it says. So compliance is pretty simple. It's a yes or no. So I'm pretty sure somebody at Boeing is going to look at this and give you some bullshit. Oh, it was just a temporary facility, and yeah. Nonsense. But it's pretty easy to audit somebody. Now, NADCAP is who would audit a supplier. So, like a company that I worked for, Ace Clearwater in Torrance, we were NADCAP certified since we were a supplier of Boeing, Lockheed, SpaceX, and all of those others. And let's just move down to the simple yes or no's and apply the standard that Boeing has on its suppliers to Boeing itself. So equipment capability, you saw the welders in the video, is their documented procedure to to ensure the welding machine's fixtures, tooling, and tooling material were suitable and capable of consistently producing acceptable welds. Well, that's a no. You know, we had the wiring going out the door. We had the tables that had paint on them. There were no documents whatsoever. So that's a clear no. You already failed your audit. Equipment calibration. Oh, yeah, the welding machines that we had in there. They were all rented. Not a single one was calibrated in that entire building. So 30 or 40 welding machines not calibrated. Yeah, it's a big fat fucking no. That would literally shut down a smaller company. So Boeing not following any of the rules. Equipment qualification. Is there a document procedure? No, there wasn't. Qualification records. Were there any record fixtures? Nope, nope, nope. Procedure controlled. Welding schedules? Nope. Literally, if Boeing went through an audit on that particular website, they'd be shut the fuck down. But does Boeing have any oversight? Unfortunately, the answer to that question is no, they don't. And, you know, that kind of makes sense with fucking airplanes falling out of the sky and doors falling off. You know, I was wondering how people at Boeing could be that fucking stupid. But then when I actually step into the place, I see it firsthand and as plain as day. And what was surprising was how blatant it was. You know, these guys knew what was going on and they were playing stupid. But I'll get into why they were playing stupid in a minute. Okay, now the end of the video. Why was Boeing non-compliant? Well, as you can see in the background, I wrote an affidavit to explain why I feel that Boeing was purposefully non-compliant. Now, we went there as scabs. There was a strike. The welders in Seattle were going on strike, and we were brought there temporarily just in case. Now, I believe, based off of a lot of evidence, that we were being set up to fail. So, you know, Boeing says, oh, we need some scabs. And literally from the building to the documentation to the eye exams, we're set up to fail from the get-go. So you could be the best welder on earth. Your weld test is not going to pass just from the documentation alone. And that's by design. So you can read my affidavit. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but this is how I explained what happened, where I was, and I will read this last section. Oh, I forgot too. No safety data sheets anywhere. SDSs. Huge, huge OSHA violation. Like, seriously, like how much the fucking morons at Boeing just... Yeah, man, in my opinion, somebody should be going to jail for this, but I made a complaint to OSHA, and so far OSHA hasn't done shit. So yeah, and then yeah, but let's get to this. So right here, number 9, it feels like the scabs were being intentionally set up to fail, and it looks like Boeing, the union, or both of them stood to benefit from that. So how do you benefit from making welders fail? Well, you're a welder at Boeing. We call in the scabs. 50 scabs from all over the country fail. That means, oh, me, the welder at Boeing, I'm so skilled. Look at all these guys. They failed. Pay me more money. I think the whole thing was fraud. And I called them out on it. And I'm not sure what happened with the labor negotiations, but yeah, flying us all out to Seattle to make us fail so you could benefit financially, that's the fucking definition of fraud. And I ain't saying allegedly. Yeah, I'm thinking Boeing is fucking guilty of fraud. You're from Boeing? Yeah, come at me. My name is all over this. You're guilty of fucking fraud. And this is how I know Boeing ain't gonna come after me, because where's the documents? Where's the documents for my eye exam? Why didn't you do things to the book? Yeah, I think Boeing is gonna quietly sweep this under the rug. They want nothing to do with this. And here's another thing too, is skilled welders at Boeing. These fuckers make $40, $50 an hour. And when we were there, their labor negotiations were for a 40% increase in pay. 40%. But you need to set up fake weld tests? Yeah, so if you work at Boeing and you're a welder, you fucking suck. Like, why should we be paying you that much money? Why are my airplane tickets so expensive? You know what I mean? Like, you have to literally cheat, like fucking unions. So, yeah, you cause other people to fail so you can inflate your pay, and it's not right. But this is the affidavit. If you would like to read it, just pause it. I have the exact address for the place. I have the name, Jim Wheeler, down here. Oh, so this was the guy that worked at Flex Trades. He was our I don't know what the fuck he is. He was our driver, basically. And I tried to let him know of non-compliance. I sent him an email. I sent them text messages. I let them know, like, hey, if we don't follow AWSD.1, D17.1, the tests are null and void. Yeah, this fucking idiot, just ignored me. So it almost makes me feel that Flex Trades was probably getting a kickback as well. And it was there was another company out there. I forgot the name of them, but it was also Strom. But yeah, lots and lots of fraud. And I'm pretty sure, yeah, we all got caught up in it, and disappointing to say the least. It really made me feel just awful about aerospace. I thought we were the best of the best welders, and I go and I see this shit show, and it's just fucking embarrassing. Like, for just the country. Like, Jesus, we're supposed to be the leaders in this industry, and it's just a bunch of fucking overpaid morons faking the funk, while the rest of us at these smaller aerospace companies have to maintain crazy standards. It's just ridiculous. Okay, so in closing, what was this video exactly? Well, it's a little bit of aerospace welding. It's a little bit something above my pay grade, which is auditing and understanding ISO manuals and really getting what the rules are. I've met a bunch of welders. Oh, we're NADCAP certified, but they have no fucking idea what that shit meant. And neither did I. It took me a while to research all of this and wrap my head around what was going on. And when it comes down to it, this is a lesson, a real life lesson. Like, if you go to a NADCAP class, you're not going to see non-compliance in the field. You'll never see it. They'll direct you away from it. This is like crazy that I fell on this. This is something auditors, like I said, you'll only see examples of this in your textbook. You will never see blatant non-compliance like this in your career, but I stumbled upon it accidentally. Now, at the top is an email that I had sent to, this is Ted, Renita, and Bree. They all work at Flex Trades, and I let them know prior to them firing me that, yeah, they were non-compliant. And these cutbags, of course, what do corporate people do when they're doing the wrong thing? They just play stupid. Yeah, so these fucknuts, they knew exactly what was going on, and they just pretended, oh, like, I don't know what I'm talking about. Now, at the bottom here, well, hopefully something gets done. I don't know, though. Like, I'm not too... Yeah, I don't think anything's gonna get fucking done. Yeah, OSHA could just literally break every rule. I mean, not OSHA. Boeing could break every single fucking rule in the book, and nothing's going to happen to them. So yeah, when I was looking at them on C-SPAN and they had a multi-million-dollar lawsuit for not having documents attached to parts, this pales in comparison. This is fucking 10 times worse. You have a fucking building off the books. And so we got Hunter Mitchell. He's investigating it. Yeah, I don't fucking know if he's investigating it, because you know how the government is. It'd probably just be like, sweep it under the rug and nothing happens. So what I ask, hey man, if you're watching this video and you work in aerospace, send this to your fucking boss. Please send this to somebody that's in NADCAP. Send this to somebody that's in auditing. Like seriously, man, like I flew on a Boeing plane to and from Seattle. I've flown all over the world in Boeing planes. And, yes, I do feel safe to fly on a plane, but like, Jesus Christ, man, this is like people, you know what I mean? And they can't be fucking cutting corners like this. Completely just not okay, not good. So like I said, click a like. I'm sure you learned something about auditing. You really got to see the nitty gritty, the behind the scenes of one of the shittiest aerospace companies on planet Earth, which is Boeing. And yeah, you can also see how they treat safety, because, when I worked at Senior Aerospace SSP and Ace Clearwater Aerospace, the motto was, if you see something, say something. Our bosses actually gave us money if we showed that they were out of compliance, because it's easier to fix the problem before it gets bigger. So it's like, oh, hey, we don't have any paperwork. My supervisors would literally tell me, stop. Do not work on that. We need to find the paperwork first. Same thing with, just the part, traveling from, let's say, the machine shop to the weld shop. If we lose the paperwork, yeah, man, everything stops until we find the original document. Like, it's like that. Like, I remember I was welding something at Ace Clearwater. We went like 2 weeks looking for a document, like literally just the parts sitting there. And yeah, machine shop's like, yeah, I ain't touching that shit, because paperwork, you'll get fired, you go to fucking jail, man. So yeah, is anything going to happen to Boeing? Probably not. Is OSHA going to do anything about it? Probably fucking not. But hey, if you work at Joe Blow Aerospace Company somewhere, you're going to be required to follow all the rules. Oh, and one last thing too, when it comes to NADCAP, which should also piss you off if you're a business owner when it comes to Boeing. It's this. Dear aerospace auditee, so this was old, obviously, January. So yeah, the price has increased for NADCAP audits. So all of the suppliers who have to follow all the rules that Boeing is breaking, they have to pay good money. Well, Boeing, yeah, they're actually, I don't even think they're fucking audited, which is insane. So it's like, yeah, how does me, blue collar Joe Blow welder, how do I see this and no auditors ever caught this? How do I see this and nobody at fucking Boeing? Everyone's got their head in their ass, bunch of overpaid, just pieces of shit, in my opinion. I mean, yeah, I have nothing but doubts now for companies like Boeing, Lockheed, all of the OEM manufacturers, because if Boeing is doing this that blatantly, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if the rest of them were. The Boeing Quality Leering Center is what we got fucking going on right here. But if you learned something, please like. And man, yeah, this isn't to blow up my channel. Share this, please, man. Send this to other companies. This is bullshit, dude, and this shouldn't be going on. Like I said, I have family, you have family. Your kid could be flying on a Boeing plane, and when it fucking crashes, yeah, this information like this might be important. But I guess that's it for me. So I hope you learned something, and peace.